Hi, everybody. So, there are so many stories out that it's just actually overwhelming with how many stories are out regarding domestic violence, people passing away, just so much going on. And it's especially centered in the Black community. Lots of black on black crime, for example, black couples, men killing their wives or girlfriends, girlfriends killing their husbands or boyfriends. It's just a mess. But this story, I kind of wanted to give my reaction to it. I thought it was sad. I actually thought it was pretty sad. So, we have been hearing a lot about rappers over the years dying prematurely. So, it's nothing new that we're always hearing about a rapper passing away. Almost every other month, we hear about these sad stories. But this one was quite interesting. This story to me kind of reminds me of the Mo 3 story. Mo 3 died after he was sleeping at the house of a woman who happened to be the baby mother of one of his opponents, or you guys call it slang ops or whatever. So he was at, in a vulnerable situation at a woman's house who was the baby mother of an op, and then he ends up leaving that residence, and that person who's the op takes his life. Similarly, this story sounds like a similar situation, except for rapper Trouble was, at that residence when the altercation happened. So rapper Trouble, he had pretty successful rapping career in Atlanta, 34 years old. He has children. He actually just purchased his mother her first house. So he did some pretty nice things. And it's sad that he is prematurely dead, but it's just a lot of these rappers are caught in vulnerable situations with women. It's like, I think that's like a man's weakness, and unfortunately, it can lead to their loss of life. And we hear so much about these rappers rapping and bragging about, sleeping with men's women and thinking that's like a trophy situation. But in reality, it's really not. It can cost you your life, as we see in this situation and in the Mo 3 tragedy. Like I said, two similar situations. So in this case too, I kind of have a little bit of an issue with the woman involved. People are saying, and we'll talk a little bit about her, but the details to me kind of make me feel like her decision making kind of was a contributing factor. Although I don't agree with people's indications that she set this up and it was a setup. I don't think it was a setup. I think it was very, very poor decision making on her side. So basically, let's talk about this case. So it happened out in Atlanta. There was actually a live showing before he passed away. He was on live, smoking, drinking, and allegedly this woman was with him. She is not seen in the live video, but her arm is. So people are saying that she was there, I guess, when they were having some type of party or whatever, or just sitting out enjoying themselves before they returned back to her residence. People are saying that she's allegedly a stripper out in Atlanta. So she has, an interesting type career. So this gentleman here in the black and white here is her boyfriend of 3 years. He is an unsuccessful rapper. He's in a rapping group. He doesn't have much of a successful career as opposed to Trouble, who has been featured with Drake and Boosie. He has had, some pretty good upcomings in his rapping career versus this gentleman here who took his life, who didn't have much of a successful career. That can already build up a form of insecurity in the man in the black and white, because a lot of times there's a lot of jealousy that I see and notice in the black community. I notice when you see, when people see, a black man succeeding and having high accolades, especially in the rapping industry, it breeds this sense of jealousy for those individuals, in my opinion, who feel like they have failed in their career. And that brings me back to a similar story of Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle was a successful rapper. He even obtained his master's. And I believe this story is similar in that this individual took his life after they kind of had a discussion. He was asking him to help him in his career. There was allegations that Nipsey called him a snitch. He came back, took his life. I do think that this individual had some envy of Nipsey Hussle, and we see a lot of that in the black community, that black men tend to envy those individuals who are black men who succeed in the rapping industry or any type of career, any type of accolade, I notice when it relates to black men, they formulate this sense of animosity and jealousy towards those individuals who are able to, those black men who are able to obtain the success that they feel that they are unable or have been unsuccessful in obtaining. So again, I feel like there's some similarity there. So this man here could not, apparently he was not a good boyfriend to the stripper woman. Basically, he was already abusing her. In fact, a week before this incident, there was a physical altercation in a vehicle. She filed, there was, I guess, a court case regarding it. She broke up with him allegedly. Another thing is, they have been in a 3-year relationship and they lived in the apartment together. So he was also living in that apartment. So 3-year relationship, lives in an apartment. He is engaging in domestic violence, related to this woman, the stripper woman. The issue that I have with her is that they broke up a week before this. Now, the facts are they've been together allegedly for 3 years. They live in this residence together, and they've only been broken up for 1 week. So my issue that I have with her is, why are you bringing a man into the residence that you share with another man that you just broke up with only a week ago? We already know how these relationships go, you guys. These long-term 3-year relationships, even though people break up and it's only been a week, they aren't technically really broken up. They always usually get back together. So it's just kind of like, in my opinion, a break. You know what I mean? After just a week. So I feel like she was very poor. I mean, she made very poor decisions. Why would you bring another man into a house that you share with your ex, allegedly, who's I think you guys are just taking a break, who lives in this residence with you? Now, her argument would be that he hadn't been there for a week. Okay, a week is not a sufficient time to really, to me, confirm a breakup. And we know how a lot of these men in the black community are. We've talked a lot about this with the Kevin Samuels situation. A lot of black men in the black community are frustrated with us black women because we have standards, and if we're not treated right, we will not be the doormat that we see a lot from other cultures that the black men are trying to make black women be. Basically, stay in these relationships, be a doormat, don't break up, just take whatever abuse it is. But in our culture as black women, we stand up, and if we don't like the way we're treated, we usually will end that relationship. And that's the issue that black men have. But see, the issue is a lot of these black men that we're seeing happen, they aren't able to accept a breakup. There's a lot of insecurity in them, and then there's a lot of unhealthy mindsets in the black community. And so instead of just walking away and finding someone else, they basically build this mentality of jealousy. They see the woman as their property, and their mindset is, if I cannot have you, no one will. And there's always, like a lot of these stories, the majority of the time ends in someone losing their life. Most of the time, the woman loses her life. And if we have another man involved, he loses his life. The thing is, I don't know if Trouble was aware that she had a relationship, or if she told him that she had been broken up with her boyfriend for a week and they'd been together for 3 years. If he heard those particular facts, I don't think Mr. Trouble made the right decision to go to that residence. If I were him, and if any other man who would be in this situation, if you know that a woman tells you she's been with a man for 3 years and they've broken up for a week, that is not considered a breakup. I would just, leave that woman alone, find someone else. It's already a red flag. This man, the emotion's already high. Even if she claims to have broken up with him, in his mindset, he's not broken up with her. He still sees her as his property. I told you, a lot of these men in the black community, they are not willing to let women go and just move on. There's thousands of women out there, but they don't think like that. They've had this mindset that the woman needs to stay despite any abuse. They see you as property. And if you decide to end the relationship, they will decide to end your life. That seems to be the pattern that I've been seeing a lot with the stories in the black community. Now, I'm not to say this doesn't happen in other cultures. It does. But I'm just noticing a trend that has been occurring over the past few years, in particular, just the black community. I notice a lot of these men who have these unhealthy mindsets and this sense of control, and they feel that the woman is their property, and they are not willing to just walk away, and they have this sense of deep rooted insecurity. It's really deep rooted insecurity and this control mindset that the only exit out of these relationships in their mind is either the woman's going to lose her life, or if there's another man in life, that person will lose their life, or both. So that is the biggest issue that we see in these situations. So first, before we get into it, the woman made the mistake of bringing another man into the residence that she shared with her ex, whom she had a relationship with for 3 years, despite her indications that they had only been broken up for a week. That's not enough time. And in these men's mind, they're not broken up. So that was not a good choice. If Trouble knew about this situation, he should not have gone to that house. He should that was a big mistake. And again, this seems to be a trend with some of these rappers tending to let their guard down because of their fleshly desires. So let's get into the story. So unfortunately, Trouble, he, has a little bit of celebration, drinking, smoking with this woman, a stripper, and another person on a live, social media live. He ends up going back to the residence with this stripper woman. Who knows what they did in the house, but he ended up asleep with her in the residence. She awakes to Mr. Insecurity here. That's going to be his nickname, Insecurity. Insecurity, she awakes to Insecurity punching her profusely in the face. So he starts his physical attack on her. So she sustained significant injury. So people are saying, oh, it was a setup. I don't think it was a setup. I think it was poor decision. She was beat really brutally bad to the point where she is actually in the hospital, allegedly in critical condition. So she took a pretty bad beating. Allegedly, then Trouble woke up and there was some sort of a shuffle, altercation, and Mr. Insecurity, probably feeling like he couldn't, you know, basically fight with his hands. A lot of these cowards got a firearm and shot Trouble in the chest. Trouble tries to flee the scene as he bleeds out and passes away at the outside somewhere near his car. People say maybe in his car, who knows, but he didn't actually make it out of that apartment complex. He just made it out of the apartment, but he, bled out and passed away there at the scene. Some people say he was driven to the hospital and passed away there. Either way, he wasn't able to drive and get to a hospital himself because he passed out. So it was just very sad. I mean, he's 34 years old, has kids. This woman now is in critical condition. This man was found. He just had a hearing. His bond was denied. So I'm just going to stick with calling him Mr. Insecurity. And let's just take a look at some information regarding this case.
Night involving the death of Atlanta rapper Trouble. Arrest warrants obtained by 11 Alive detail what investigators believe happened in the minutes leading up to the shooting and why the suspect allegedly fired on Trouble. Joe Henke is here now with details of what the warrants reveal.
Minutes at the apartment complex in Rockdale County where Mariel Orr, also known as Trouble, was killed early Sunday. It happened in an apartment described as the home of Jones's ex-girlfriend. Early this morning, Jamichael Jones turned himself in to Rockdale County Sheriff's deputies after the sheriff's office began visiting places Jones is known to live or frequent. Deputies went to his mother's house, where she told her son by phone to turn himself in and handed the phone to a deputy.
His mother was a huge resource in helping us apprehend him.
Jones arranged with deputies to surrender at a hospital. He is now charged with felony murder for rapper Trouble's death, along with aggravated assault, home invasion, and battery. Hours later, during his first court appearance,
Jamichael Jones,
the judge denied Jones' bond. Meanwhile, the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office says investigators are still piecing together what happened Sunday.
Could be possible more charges. Again, this is an ongoing investigation, and we'll determine that at the conclusion of the investigation.
Jones's arrest warrants detail what the investigation has uncovered so far. He's accused of arriving at his ex-girlfriend's apartment complex in Conyers at 3:14 a.m. Sunday before forcing his way into her home. That woman says she was asleep in her bed with Trouble when she woke up to Jones punching her face. Jones and Trouble then began fighting, and according to the warrant, Jones pulled out a handgun and shot Mr. Orr and left the scene. An investigator wrote in the warrant, video shows Jones's vehicle leaving at 3:21, 7 minutes after arriving. The woman told the sheriff's office she dated Jones for 3 years, lived at the apartment together, but he had not been home since a week ago when they broke up. And after being denied bond in court today, Jones is now being held at the Rockdale County Jail. He's scheduled to be back in court a week from tomorrow on June 15th.
So, yeah, the question I want to ask you guys is, do you guys think if someone has been together for 3 years and they break up and they've only been broke up for a week, do you think that constitutes a actual valid breakup? And another thing, I think we should learn a lesson from this. The first lesson for men in particular, because men think it's just so cute to sleep with women who have spouses. I don't know if Trouble knew about this other man or what they discussed. So I think a wise decision for men, if they're going to engage in these one night stands or whatever these are, these quick flings, because that's what a lot of them do, don't go to these women's houses. That's like a death trap. It really is, because if the woman's not sharing with you any prior relationships, or if you're not aware of anything like that, and if unfortunately in these situations, if they have someone that they've broken up, or whatever, whatever, we don't know what type of background the woman may have, you're setting yourself up for potential situations like this. I mean, if you're going to do these type of things, meet at a hotel or somewhere where you have more control and safety in that type of situation, but not the woman's residence. It's not the right, so wise decision, especially if the women aren't sharing with you their past relationship situations. My other opinion is, if you've been in a long-term relationship and there's only been a week breakup, don't bring some other man to the house. These men do not consider a week break to be a breakup. They just don't. Especially if you're the one that broke up with them and they're not ready to let go. You bringing some other man is just going to aggravate the situation, and lead to drastic, dire situations like this. Even if in your mind you think you guys are broken up, they don't think that. And that's just going to enrage them and lead to situations like that. A week is still too fresh. There's so many cases and so many statistics you can see when people break up after a week. It's a complicated situation. Usually those people end up talking again. Sometimes they get back together. Sometimes they end up going on dates. I mean, it's not fully considered a bona fide breakup, in my opinion. And if you're going to date someone after a week, don't meet them at your house. Then go somewhere else where the person won't know where you are, if you're going to make that decision to date so soon after a week of breaking up with someone you've been with for a long time. Especially in this situation, there were allegations that this guy was already controlling and engaging in domestic violence already. So he already had anger issues. So she had to have known this guy's personality, known his nature, and could anticipate this type of reaction. Another thing, too, it makes me believe that he was already following her around and stalking her already, because they hadn't seen each other in a week. And during that week before this incident, based upon the information out there, he had not come back to that residence. So why, of all days of this whole week that he hadn't been there, he happens to come back at 3 o'clock in the morning? He watched her. He saw this. He probably was camped outside somewhere, saw Trouble go into that house, and waited for a decent time to break in when they were asleep and vulnerable. That's what I think. He was already watching the house, already watching her. That's why there were no other break-ins the other nights before. So it's like, that's just my opinion. I'll see what you guys think about it. I'm not going to a woman's house and be comfortable if I did not know her for some time. Most likely they both knew each other for some time. I don't know, Daniel. I don't know, Daniel. I don't know if that's the thing. I don't know if he really did know her for some time. I mean, you might think that way, Daniel, but some men don't. Some men just think with the head downstairs. So they're not always thinking like you. You may be thinking logically, but not everyone thinks like you. You may have a sense of intelligence, but some men do think with the head downstairs, and they're not thinking about that. They have one night stands. We have a scenario with the Kevin Samuel situation where allegedly the woman says that she met him the night before and she ended up at his house. So, I mean, there are lots of scenarios where men are not thinking logically the way you say that you're thinking. They're thinking with their flesh. They're thinking with, how this woman looks. She's a stripper, so she probably is kind of more on the loose end of, freely giving that type of stuff out. He's a rapper, so he's used to getting one night stands. He's used to women just handing out, the goodies. He's used to that. So I just think, in my opinion, that just my opinion, that this was a one night stand type of situation. Even if we go at your theory, Daniel, that they knew each other, well, then that means he knew that she was dating this man. the rap community is small, all right? They know about each other. I believe also this rapper knew of Trouble, so they knew of each other. And if he knew that this rapper here is, in a relationship or had a prior relationship with her and it's been 3 years, he made a poor decision even more so to go to this woman's house knowing the breakup was that fresh. That was just complete stupidity. If we're going to go with your theory, Daniel, that shows that Trouble just was completely just unwise and made a stupid decision. Completely stupid decision. He literally just basically and could anticipate this was going to happen. So either way, if he knew this woman, then he had to have known that she was in a long-term relationship before, had a weak breakup. And again, that makes it even more unwise for him to have gone to her house. It's just sometimes a lot of these men in the rap industry, their head is so pumped up and they're so, they're so used to women just throwing it at them. And so it could have been an ego booster for him if he knew her to go to her house and be like, oh yeah, her man's broke up and I'm about to, I can just get whatever woman I want. I'm sleeping with, the ops man woman or whatever. I don't know if they're ops or anything, but what I mean? I'm sleeping with this dude's woman or whatever. You see how easy I can get women. That could be an ego booster. It kind of reminds me of Mo 3 because Mo 3 kind of landed himself in a situation like that because he was sleeping around, knew that this woman was the baby mother of an op. He knew that. And he purposefully, allegedly, based on sources out there, went to this woman's house to kind of gather information on his op, but kind of, was still friends with her, cool with her. But he had an ulterior motive based on what people are saying to basically use this woman kind of to get information on the op and kind of, so he was already treading on dangerous territory in that situation, going to the ops territory, dating an ops baby mama. So it could be the same situation with Trouble where he, like you said, Daniel, he could have possibly known her, but that makes it even more unwise for him to go to this woman's house knowing they used to live with each other. He's got access to a key. Allegedly, he broke in, but if they're saying they live together, and that's what the report we just watched said. They had a 3-year relationship. They've only been broke up for a week. That's even more dumb. If we just go with that, that's just complete dumb on Trouble's end. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if men are going to do this, they need to move differently and more cautiously. Stop thinking so much with their flesh and make, better safety decisions. Go to a place like a hotel or somewhere out where if there is a potential man involved, they're not there and you have access and safety in that situation. But again, that can still be dangerous because if this guy really is a crazy lunatic, he probably just following this woman around and watching her and follow you guys to the hotel. So in that situation, they're probably just going to have security, around the door to protect them. I'm just saying, because I know a lot of rappers are very arrogant. And so they move very sloppy. They just move based on their ego. And it's like, oh, I can get any woman I want. Even if they know that she's in a relationship or know that she's in a complicated situation or know that she just broke up with her dude. So, I mean, we can go either way with it, Daniel, but I still just think either way we go, it sounds like an unwise choice. It sounds like she was doing this out of spite towards her ex. I agree with you, Pony Gal. Girl, you said it. It was in my mind, but I agree with you exactly. You just spoke what was in my head. I do think you're right, Pony Gal. Think about it. They're both rappers. Trouble is a better rapper. He's highly acclaimed. He's technically an upgrade because her boyfriend rapper is just this wannabe rapper who really hasn't been successful in the industry. He has some type of little bit of success in the group that he's in, but not to the level of Trouble, who's been with high acclaimed rappers such as Drake and Boosie and other individuals. So she could have used that, like you said, Pony Gal, in this very fresh breakup. It sounds like that she could have been using that to get him jealous. Like, oh, look, if he sees I'm with this guy, this rapper who is a better rapper than him, it's going to make him mad. Then again, you think about the history of their relationship. He's already engaged in domestic violence. He technically beat her up the week before. So would it be wise for her to bring this other rapper into the situation, knowing his violent tendencies? I don't know. So that's what made me think, no, probably not. She probably didn't do this out of spite because she already knew this guy's violent nature. But still, it's just dumb that she would bring him to the house knowing this man's already violent. So, Pony Gal, it can go either way. She is, in, the stripper industry. I don't know how her mind flows, what her logic really is, or does she have any logic? She knows this guy already beat her up the week before. I don't know, Pony Gal. I was thinking what you were thinking, but then I talk it out and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe she just was sloppy. Drinking alcohol at night lowers your inhibitions. You stop really thinking clearly, stop thinking logically. You're more careless in your choices. So maybe she was intoxicated, didn't really think about everything going on. A lot of people, we women who are heartbroken, make careless decisions, stuff like that. I don't know, Pony Gal. It could go either way. It could go either way. Maybe your theory could be correct, but I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. I agree with your position based on my theory. Okay, Daniel. Such a situation. Rappers love bragging about sleeping with other guys' friends. Exactly. The Kevin Samuels Roast Network. Hi, Kevin Samuels Roast Network. Hi, Peso. Hi, the Peso Man. But yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you that yes, they love it. It's like clout. That made me just think about Mo 3 because Mo 3 used to move like that. There was indication she used to be very proud of just sleeping with this baby mama of the op because it kind of made him feel like he was one-upping them and kind of like it was a slap in the face, basically. So I think you're right, the Kevin Samuels Roast Network. It could be that he already knew. And if we go with Daniel's theory too, that he already knew this woman, it's a small community. He probably already knew that she was dating this guy, which even more was not a good choice. And you're sleeping in the bed with this woman, that makes you even more vulnerable because your defenses are down. And I don't think he even had a firearm on him. So he just moves completely sloppy. Hopefully a lot of rappers learn from this. This guy killed trouble over a woman who did not want him. Exactly, Anko. Exactly. And the question is, did she want him? We don't know the full history of this relationship. Was this an off and on relationship? Did they break up multiple times in those 3 years? And if they did, then she already knew this was just a break because, maybe they had many times in their past where they broke up for a couple of weeks or whatever, and then they got back together. And so she already knows that this is the routine in their relationship. So for her to bring another man into the house again was not wise on her choice. And for him to go to that house was not wise on his choice. Probably like the Kevin Samuels Roast Network said, he probably was doing this to brag and boost his ego because a lot of these highly acclaimed, successful rappers do that. It's like a bragging right to be like, oh yeah, I slept with this other rapper's woman. You know what I mean? He lost the Smash lottery. You're a mess. The Peso Man, I just love you. You're funny. All right. Percy, when a girl tell me they broke up over a week, I don't take it any further. A week ago means he still is calling to get you back. Exactly, Percy. Exactly. See, you're probably more of a wiser man, right? But I'm speaking from the perspective of a man who's successful, especially the rappers in the highly, Hollywood successful industry. They're not thinking the way you're thinking, Percy. They're thinking ego. They think they're invincible. Invincible. They think they're invincible and they can do whatever they want and they can just step on whatever toes they want. And that's what ends in these type of sad tragedies. Exactly, Daniel. Some women get off on pissing the ex off. Right, Pony Gal. ARI, a popular girlfriend of a rapper, stated it was sexy to her when a man pulls a gun on her. Oh, that is true. I did hear that. It proves to her that he loves her. Sick. Exactly. I did hear that. I thought that woman, Ari, she is very delusional and sick to say she gets off on her men pulling a gun out on her and all this stuff, basically as a form of love. And you're right. Maybe this stripper woman thinks like that. I mean, she was with this man for 3 years. I don't think this was the first time this man engaged in domestic violence after 3 years. I just don't. I think this was been 3 years of multiple, incidents of domestic violence. They probably had an off and on relationship. She finally probably reached her ending point. This last time was like, okay, I'm done. I think she was done. I think they said she actually filed a court claim, actually filed a claim against him for this domestic violence situation. So maybe she was actually literally done this time, but given the pattern of it being off and on, in his mind, he thought it wasn't over. He's still seen her as his property. The relationship in his mind wasn't over. He was going to get his woman back, and he probably was already watching the whole situation. Like I said, he was camped outside. If that was his prior house, he was camped outside, saw the whole thing, saw trouble going to the house, wanted to wait for a couple hours probably, because that's what happened with Mo 3 situation. The baby daddy, he sat camped out the entire night while Mo3 was in that house. And in fact, there was allegations he was going to go in and just, shoot up inside the house. But I forgot who they communicated with. But the baby daddy, someone spoke to the baby daddy. I don't know if it was the sister or one of them that said, don't go in because the kids are in there or whatever. So he waited the whole entire night, you guys, until Mo3 left and then followed him onto the freeway. So I'm thinking that's what this guy did. I call baby daddy. I don't know if they have kids, but I'm thinking what this low value man did. I think Mr. Insecurity, in my opinion, was camped out of that house residence and watched when trouble went into the house, waited a couple hours when he felt, lights probably went off, went around, creeped around, made sure they were asleep, and that's when he made his move. That's what I think happened, you guys. So we can all learn from this. This is a sad tragedy. That's why I really wanted to sit and talk about it and give my reaction, because I actually feel pretty sad for this dude. Even though he made some really careless decisions that led to the end of his life, his kids don't have a father anymore, and his mother. And I think back on Mo3's mother, because Mo3 bought his mom a house too. So just thinking about the two stories, I feel like they're so similar in that, they both bought their parents' homes and just really was, good to their parents and to their kids. And now they're gone because of these poor decisions. And I just wanted to share this story so that men can learn from it. Stop letting your ego get the best of you. Stop letting these women lead to you losing your life. Stop thinking with the head downstairs. Y'all need to stop. That's what's causing a lot of these men to lose their life, because they're too busy, so focused on their flesh. You got to think strategically. You got to think wisely. And you got to find out if these women have any prior connections with other men. You need to ask questions. These one-night stands is what's leading to some of these men's death. There's all kinds of different scenarios out there, but I'm saying for this particular story, if you're going to do a one-night stand, talk a little bit more with this woman, ask her about prior relationships, see, hey, are you involved in any relationships recently? When was your last breakup? Ask some questions first. And if you still want to take that risk, don't go back to her house. That's a death trap. Never go back to a woman's house, period. You're going to have to get a hotel or figure something else out, but don't go, because it's like you are setting yourself up. When you're going to someone's house, you are vulnerable to any dangers. You're in their camp, you're in their territory. And it just sets you up for situations like this. I just thought it was something we can talk about and learn from and actually help the men out for a change, because we're always talking about women. Let's talk about the men, because I am an equal opportunity channel. I don't have disregard for either ethnicity. I'm just open to talk about anything controversial or current events. Hi, Percy. Hey, beautiful Esquire. I'm 33 and I've never ever seen so many rappers die. This crazy. I know, Percy. It's like, it feels like every other month a rapper is dying, and it's really sad. And it makes you think, is the rapping industry really a safe career for Black men? A lot of Black men tend to want to be rappers and feel like that's either they want to be a rapper or they want to get involved in sports. It seems like that's like the two areas, at least, that are I would say more so the healthier careers that they can go for, because the other ones are like drug dealing and other stuff. But is the rapping career really safe? There's so much to talk about the rap career, because the rap industry, because some people say that record labels and other people try to build these conflicts within the rap industry to make more money and stuff like that. So that's a whole different discussion. But it's sad, like Percy said, too many rappers are dying and they're so young. They're not even making it past their 30s. This man actually lived longer than most rappers. A lot of rappers die in their 20s. Mo3 died when he was 29, didn't even get to 30. So, and you're lucky if you're a Boosie who actually is still alive. He barely escaped death when he was trying to go to the memorial for Mo3. So just keep our brothers in your prayers. Try to learn from this. There are just more rappers now, and everyone is a rapper now. Exactly, the Kevin Samuels Roast Network. Exactly. It just feels like that's like the default career. Like a lot of Black men just want to go and be rappers. So I don't know. It's sad, but it feels like the rap industry is a dangerous industry for Black men. If they want to get into the rap community, they need to move differently. Stop staying in the same communities where you were living. A lot of them are in these gangs and they stay there and they let their guards down. Kind of what happened with Nipsey Hussle. He was, there in his community without security, without firearms, had his guard completely down. And that leads to these dangerous just tragic situations. All right, so thank you guys for chatting with me. Take care.